The date, July 23rd, 2000. As you know, July 23rd, sacred day. Some say the rising of Sirius. We know the rise of Leo, which is also the Sphinx. And so it's a good day to do this also. Also, we got chief people around, witches or whatever you want to call them. And that word is fitting in the Marcellus Tarot brought up by the Moors. The word witch comes from the word vitch, and the word vitch comes from the word bitch, which means priestess of the dog star. Yeah, feminine energy. Feminine energy. As usual, what we do here, whether people accept the stuff or not, is we still, as world-class people, have to uncover thousands and thousands of pages of documents that used to belong to us. This is not a matter of belief system or religious, it's a matter of scholarship. And the world-class people need to know more about themselves on all levels. So, still in the pursuit of unearthing thousands of mysteries that was held from us. Thousands of mysteries that was held from us. The name of this one is, we're going to deal with several things, but what was the name of this? Did we give a name for this?
This was Melanin Voudon Guerilla Warfare.
Melanin Voudon Guerilla Warfare. And so what we're going to deal with, we're going to unearth a lot of stuff that was hidden. Also, we want to treat this. As a matter of fact, I did one similar to this on the 18th down in Atlanta. Had helicopters flying over the building, about 5 of them. The heat went out. Although we did get through it and all, the form of warfare, a lot of things did happen. And I knew that, but then again, I fixed them, so I said, well, if I don't get it this time, and we did do a good job, but we was talking about applying some energy, so I knew that I was going to be able to repeat this again. The thing about it is I went to several places. I went to Los Angeles about a week after that, and then I went to Cleveland. Those were my first time being out there, so therefore it was a younger crowd, so therefore I couldn't go into this particular science, although by the end of the actual lecture I was able to break into some of this. So, but by that being my first time coming out there, I needed to go back to more of a blueprint form of the basis of metaphysics and occult sciences, and then bring them into this. So that means that now, since we're back in Trenton, this is about my 6th or 7th time being here, I get to basically, go back into this. And plus I said, this is cutting edge and research and stuff that we need to know, especially in the year 2000, and as we go into the particular science of what the government is actually doing, we'll know that in actuality, that we need as much science as we can get also. So, as usual, on this day of the 23rd, what we do is we'll give the ancestors some. Now this is Maya's rum. How much is this one? About what? About $11, and all. You can get a smaller one for like $6. Right. And then there's another one, I think, bigger one for like, huh?
40.
How much?
About $40.
About 40 for the big one, and then they got one.
Well, the one about the,
yeah.
That's a fifth, I think, right?
Yeah.
So the I guess a half gallon, I'm sure it's about $40.
About $40. It's a really expensive rum and all. This is 11, but I'm saying they tend to like this. Now, what we're doing here is we're dealing with science and all. What we need to do is we need to take this particular science off of the realm of superstition and bring it back into its scientific, alchemical, and chemical realm. To give you an example, here's a brother, PhD, Reginald Crosley, MD, wrote a book called Voodoo Quantum Leap. And he's explaining in this book on how this stuff actually lines up with the tenets of quantum physics. You see, quantum physics and mystical dimensions and stuff that the white boys is dealing with now. So what happens is this. These Europeans would tap into this particular information, let's say 100 years ago, 140 years ago, by taking all the stuff that they got of us around the world. But what they will do is they will hold on to it and don't come out with the legitimacy of it and tell you, oh, that's that old crazy, superstitious, posh, whacked out stuff, until they can find the mathematical equations to explain the same science mathematically, or let's put it this way, in their European term of mathematics, or in their European term of physical science, which is limited. So it might take them 100 years just to explain some of these age-old sciences, and then when they put it out, once they get it, they'll put it out and then they'll go, hey, look what we got. And the first thing you go is, man, the white man is great, man, because he's coming up with all these inventions. But the key here, that's a form of mind control to let you understand his supremacy. If he comes up with all cutting-edge aspects of science, that still keeps you as a subject, a mental subject, to think that he is superior and you are inferior. Meanwhile, he has libraries, museums, full of all this advanced science that he still can't explain the ultimate reality, but the stuff that he might take 100 years to do, you see, he'll still tell you that your stuff is foolishness. And yet he's dealing with the same quantum physics, chaos mathematics, new paradigm science, all types of new laws of physics. You see what I'm saying? And he calls it shadow matter, dark matter, this and that. You see, and you're still thinking in the realm of science and all that. In actuality, the only thing he's doing is explaining some stuff that you had millions of years ago. That's another thing. The concept is to change the timeline up to about 6,000 years so it can fit his existence and you'll think he's always been here. That's a super form of mind control. If you think a person has always been here, you think that you got to accommodate him, although he's killing your people. And that's a form of mind control, to think that he has always been in this particular aspect of what you call creation. So these are mind control techniques. And so all of the stuff that the African mind is afraid of is stuff that the European has set down and conspired to say, we're going to make this particular information the scapegoat, and we're going to make it the fear of the world, as voodoo. Spiritual voodoo, or what you call voodoo, or voodoo, as we know, kicked them in the behind in Haiti. So as a result, after Haiti was liberated by a spiritual aspect as well as an elite fighting force, in the 1950s they decided we're going to make this an all-out enemy, and as a result the mind control worked so good, and to this day we are scared of any type of alternative religions outside of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, which in actuality are political systems of moralism and have nothing to do with the real spiritual aspect of how the world works. But the key here is to always separate the spiritual from the science. And if you can separate the spiritual from the science, and you are trained on a scientific element, then you will always think that that's some crazy stuff. And this is a form of mind control that we need to rid ourselves with, because it's all in the mind on how we function on all levels and what we think. And we'll get into a lot of that particular stuff. We're going to go deep into the actual physiological, sexual aspect of different things. And all this has been deemed persona non grata, taboo to this establishment in age-old religions, especially around 2,000 years ago, which was something to take over the whole world. Like I said, this Reginald Crossley book, to help you along, Voodoo Quantum Leap, Reginald Crossley, PhD, deals with it. I just think that, unfortunately, I think that he tends to uphold the whole quantum theory and all this stuff more than he and compare the voodoo to the quantum theory, theory other than the quantum theory and all that compared to the voodoo, because one works and one doesn't. The quantum is still just a theory. The voodoo is real, reality. Now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about advanced science, and we'll get into this particular thing. We'll give you a brief, and I'll repeat it after we do the libations, because this is a part of it, is the ancient mystical priests had a system, a scientific system of alchemy, chemistry, astronomy, astrology, dimensional work, all types of electromagnetic force fields, and all types of quantum realities. And they had this particular information. And over the years, thousands of years, the scientific part died out. Because as a priesthood or as educational systems tend to break up, which is the first law of the universe, is all things fall apart. All things fall apart. That's the first law of the universe. When I went out to LA, here it is again, because they're like 10 years behind the whole East Coast. So here's this question again. If we were so great, why did we fall? And I'm saying you must understand that the universe is in a flux. All things change. That's the first law of chaos, or what they call chaos theory now. All things fall apart. All things change. Chaos is supreme and reigns supreme in that it is the master of change. And so by us being the oldest people on the earth since the beginning of time, all things fall apart. But like we always say, if we rule for thousands and thousands and thousands of years in the physical and millions of years in the non-physical, then the amount of time of our demise would be like an intermission period. It would literally be like 15 minutes. So we must understand scientific aspect of this thing. All things fall apart, and it's not a tragedy. It's a form of transmutation through putrefaction. You see what I'm saying? Rot is good. Decay is good.
Yeah.
You see, all things must go back to chaos. There's a book that deals with that too. This particular one here, I think on the first O'Flaherty's book, Wendy O'Flaherty's book, Hindu Myths. I've narrowed it down because she has the Rig Veda. It's all right because it's just the text. This one is one of the best ones. Chaos and Order, Introduction, page 11. All things fall apart. You see, all things fall apart. Even William Shakespeare, it says, nothing of him that does fade, but does suffer a sea change into something rich and strange. So basically, even William Shakespeare, who was an occultist, understood this. All things fall apart. All things must change. And chaos is a series of change. No, a series of things, a series of events where change is supreme. That's one of the keys. And so we also dealing with melanin. The stuff, another name, there's several names in the Hindu stuff we get. Always breaking new stuff down on the whole melanin science. New stuff in the Hindu stuff called gunas, tamas, and rasas. This is stuff, and it tells you that these gunas, tamas, and rasas are nothing but mercurial energy. And this mercury is not the physical mercury that they name this, whatever this stuff they put in for thermometers. The mercury in alchemy is basically the black substance, the negrito, the primal material, the mercurous. And it says that this particular mercurous substance, one thing about this melanin substance, one thing it cannot do, in its substance itself, it can never go back to its original form. It always has to transmutate, transmigrate, just like a journey. It can never go back to its original form. So therefore, the whole concept of us returning to the ancient realm is ludicrous when we're supposed to transmutate into a new species. Whole movie, the X-Men, we're going to break down, dealing with this.